across England and Wales. The total police budget for 2018-19 is £12.3 billion. According to the National Audit Office, in real terms, overall funding has fallen by 19% in the past 8 years. And there are now 21,000 fewer police officers in England and Wales than there were in 2010. Well, for more, let's speak to Graham Wettone, Sky's policing analyst. Thank you for coming in.
No worries.
Is the police force in crisis? We've heard that several times today.
I think it's gone beyond crisis. I think it's been in crisis, and now this report just confirms what we've been saying for years, since 2010. It's gone through the crisis, it's actually getting even worse. And you heard, just looking at the different stats and figures, 20,000 officers lost. And also, you double that with almost support staff. I think the figure I saw was 45,000, like support staff and police officers in total, so including that 21,000 on the front line. You have to then put officers into some of those support roles. Not all of them can just be done away with. You have to have police officers then doing support roles. So effectively what you're left with is even less on the street, demands increase significantly, so you've got the system we're in now where crimes aren't being investigated. The policing has become reactive. So basically they're just turning up, reporting the crime, giving you a reference number, and that's the end of the investigation, because they haven't got the time or the officers to carry out some of these prolonged and protracted investigations that are needed.
So you believe that it is actually getting worse?
It's much worse. I think we've gone beyond crisis now. I think we were in the crisis about a year or two ago when we kept saying this to the government. They haven't been listening. And to allow the Home Office, a department, just to literally blindly run through this. And now they've been faced with these figures today, and I've heard they're actually going to put it off until the next spending review, which is around 2020, 2021. So we're still looking at another 3 years. So even if we are in a crisis now, it's going to get far worse in 3 years' time.
So what do you make of the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, actually saying that he'll fight for resources, he'll stand with the front line and he will listen? Does that not cheer you in any way at all? No,
I heard him speak. I was at the Federation Conference in May. He said the same words then. He spoke very positively about the police pay award. Hasn't acted on that either. That came out again at about 0.8%. And he said he would support that and try and fight for a decent pay award for police. That hasn't happened. These are just words. He needs to start doing something and actually stand up for policing, or just put his hands up and say, I'm just doing what Mrs May is telling me. You know, don't sack the messenger.
Cressida Dick was quite forthright in what she had to say today as well, and referring to that pay increase, looking for the 3% but getting the 2%. She believes that that will severely affect police morale.
It has. I talk to officers daily. I'm still involved in policing in a minor way. I talk to officers daily. It's significantly affected morale. There are officers now looking to leave the service with significant experience. She mentioned this retention issue she's got. She's having a real problem now with keeping experienced officers in policing, because they're looking outside, looking at private industry, and there's a better lifestyle and more pay. And they're starting to leave in significant numbers. And they've also got a problem now with recruiting people with this salary coming in. So it's not looking like an attractive career or even a vocation, which it was when I joined. People aren't joining to stay in policing for 20, 30 years.
But the Home Secretary is saying that he's pledging bonuses to officers and he will increase funding. There's the promise of an increase in funding.
It's a promise, isn't it? I'd like to actually see some of these figures, I'd like to see it coming through and see it happening. Words are great, and we've heard these words before from him and other ministers. They need to start doing something. The most positive words are almost coming from the opposition. You're listening to a succession of Home Secretaries and government ministers. They all talk very positively about policing, but none of them are actually doing anything. And if you're one of those officers trying to live from day to day and actually then going out and facing the demands that they're facing, there's very little either support or reward from doing the job they're doing.
What would you say to those who might believe that it's not just about throwing money at the situation, it's about the clever deployment of resources, it's not just about the pound signs?
No, I agree with that. It isn't just about throwing money at it. The police service has to be a bit clever about what they do with their resources, but they haven't got the resources to do anything clever with them. They are literally, the term used, almost firefighting. They're just being reactive. So it's not solely about the money. Once they get the money, they do need to be clever about what they're investigating and prioritising what they've got. But the money is a big issue for it. They can't actually... They're just about surviving at the moment. So I said, in my view, we've been in the crisis. Whatever's beyond the crisis, but that's where we are now, and on the verge of going over the edge. Police is on the verge of being lost to this country for a long time. The effective service the public deserve and want from their policing. If we're not going to give it to them, then it needs the government to actually say, this is now, you know, we'll lower your expectations. This is what you're going to get from a police service that we haven't funded or resourced or supported over the last 8 years and going on for the next 2 or 3 years.
So finally, your message to the Home Secretary today?
do something. Do actually something constructive. Be productive. Stand up and support your police service. Don't just use words. I need to see some actions from him. He spoke in May in a supportive terms, but actually start doing something constructive. And if it isn't him, if he's getting the message from above, then actually say who it is that's putting the block on funding and supporting policing. Because if it's not him, we need to know who it is.
OK, Graham Weston, thank you very much. Thank you. President